I have completed a 30-day test with the iPhone 11 to see if it is still a viable smartphone to use in 2024. The iPhone 11 was released in 2019 and is on the list of supported devices for iOS 18. And that means yet another year of full updates for a phone that you can pick up for crazy cheap. But should you? Let's get into it. First and foremost is price. Since posting my 2023 video more than a year ago, I have seen people picking this up for absolutely crazy prices. Some as low as $100 refurbished. Some are less fortunate and have to pay a few hundred, but even then, it's still worth the price. Let's not forget, this was a flagship phone that still works well to this day. And if you can get one with a fresh battery, then you have found a great phone at a great price. Now, in the performance section, you would expect to see a huge difference between an iPhone 11 and an iPhone 15. But in the apps that I use on a daily basis, like messages, emails, Safari, notes, reminders, there is literal milliseconds difference in the amount of time that these phones open those apps. Where things begin to change is the more pro apps like iMovie, CapCut, Lightroom, and so on. These apps have become much more demanding with each iPhone release, and the iPhone 11 is falling a little bit behind in that category. Games being another big one. As we have seen with other pro apps, games have become more demanding as well, where opening a similar game on these phones could take up to 5, 10, 20 seconds difference, and most likely are going to notice a significant drop in frame rate as well. But do I really need console-type games running on my phone? We have the Nintendo Switch for that. And with the recent influx of retro emulators, your iPhone can become a retro game system reaching as far back to the NES. Now, let's talk about the display. And before you tell me the iPhone 11's display is not OLED, if that matters to you, then this phone is not for you. But for those that just want a really good display and a good phone, then this phone is good enough. The one feature that I noticed the most is the ProMotion display. After using a 15 Pro for a while, you do get used to the buttery smoothness. But after a while, you would eventually get used to this. I used it for 30 days, and maybe for the first week or so, I noticed it. But after that, you just get used to the 60 Hertz display. Also, if you are using this phone outside, the 625 nits of max brightness may not be bright enough for you to see the display in full or direct sunlight. I know in my previous video we had a bike delivery person and said that is exactly why they didn't go with the iPhone 11. So if that matters to you, then that is where the newer displays, which stand at 800 and 1200 nits of brightness, is where you are going to see a huge difference. To the normal person, is that worth 4, sometimes 5 times worth the price? I would say not. Build quality on the 11 is going to outmatch any competition in the $200 range. $200 to $400 Android phones are going to have sharp corners, cheap plastics, and not great quality. As well, being an Apple device, case options are plentiful and available all over. Good luck trying to find a case for that $250 phone that is going to protect against drops. Been there, done that, lesson learned. Now, jumping over to the storage, 64 gigabytes these days is not enough when you're taking photos, downloading apps, playing games, and so on. But for a $200 phone, an extra $50 for double the storage maybe doesn't seem like a bad idea. Now we're talking 128 gigabytes, and that should give you more than enough space. And even if you do decide to go with the 64 gigabyte model, there is plenty of utilities to remove unused apps and games, move pictures from your device to the cloud when storage is tight, and you can pick up a 50 to 100 gigabyte cloud plans for like $2 to $5, and this would allow you to offload pictures and certain things that you don't need on your device. And that way, that if this ever gets lost or stolen or just stops working, they're backed up to the cloud if anything ever was to go wrong. Now, longevity. Apple has shocked me with keeping the same devices that were able to run iOS 17 on the supported list for iOS 18. That means that the iPhone 11 has at least another 2 years of life. And that means updates on day one of release. There's no waiting for a particular version of the OS to be released for this phone. Apple has been outstanding with that day one, older phones get the same update. Albeit some missing features, but we'll get into that. So, 2+ years for $200 is pretty good in my books. Then, at that time, you can pick up a 13 or 14 for the same price that you bought the 11 for. Now, moving over to the camera. The iPhone 11 was the first time where I said that phones were starting to capture a good enough picture to keep the big cameras at home. If you were on the move and doing family activities, planning to bring the big camera isn't always the easiest thing. With having to pack everything like lenses, stands, adapters, charge the batteries, bring the device that is already charged, has multiple lenses, and fits in your pockets. That is a parent's best choice. Battery on the iPhone 11 to this day is still good, if not great. Apple states that you will get 17 hours of video playback and 24 hours of audio playback, and even better standby time. But if you are picking up a used device, the battery will most likely have a few less cycles left. So if you are picking one up, Apple can replace the battery for about $69. So maybe a year or two down the line, it's not lasting you how you want it to, you can take it to them, have it replaced, and you're back to great battery life for only a few bucks. Now, like I mentioned before, the iPhone 11 is not going to get all of the features that the newer phones come with. Apple has added some really great features to the newer devices that have released. This includes cinematic mode, satellite calling, which is a subscription, and an action mode. But in summary, the iPhone 11 may be a few years old now, but it still holds up as a great phone in 2024. With its affordable price, solid build quality, impressive cameras, long battery life, it is a great option for anyone that doesn't need the latest and greatest technologies. Plus, Apple's continued support, you can expect to receive updates and security patches for at least 1 to 2 more years. Overall, if you're looking for a reliable and affordable iPhone, the iPhone 11 is definitely worth considering. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you made it to the end, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next upload.